how to be a better disappointment. More specifically, how to be better at disappointing people, right? Now, most of us didn't originally have in mind that we wanted to be a disappointment. In fact, we may have grown up our entire lives thinking that we want to be the opposite of a disappointment. But what is the opposite of a disappointment? You can't say a success because success is fulfilling your own goals. But when you're worried about disappointing others, you're worried about not fulfilling the goals that they have for you. So, what would be the opposite of being a disappointment? Essentially, a pleaser. And that's the problem, is that you have been focused on being a good pleaser, someone who pleases others through your appeasement and your achievement, but really it's causing you bereavement because you can't live your life according to what someone else wants you to be. You can't do everything according to how you're going to make someone else happy, because if you try that, you won't be authentic to yourself and you'll end up neglecting your needs. So we have to be better at actually disappointing people. We need to be a bigger disappointment, a better disappointment. But how? Because most of us, every fiber of our being fights against the idea of disappointing others. But we need to learn to be okay with disappointing others, especially when we have low self-esteem, low self-worth. We need to learn to be okay with disappointing other people. Guess what? 2025 coming up, disappointing others is a life skill. It is a part of being an adult. Go ahead and compute that for a moment. Disappointing others is a normal part of being a healthy adult, learning to disappoint others. That's an important part of your development, to disappoint other people. So are you good at it? Can you see why you need to be a good disappointment? We need to be better at disappointing others because that is a important life skill. That's going to involve recognizing and prioritizing our needs and our boundaries, which is not selfish because we're not doing it to the detriment of someone else. We're not hurting or harming someone else. We're not being cruel to them. But it's essential for our emotional well-being to prioritize our own needs and set boundaries. So I'm going to give you nine keys to achieve this. Nine keys to becoming a bigger disappointment, a better disappointment. So are you ready to become a better disappointment? You have to recognize what holds you back from wanting to embrace this power, this special ability. To be able to disappoint others is an important life skill. I talked to a grown adult. She was almost 30 years old. She once told me, she said, I can please everyone. I can make everyone happy. And I told her, no, you cannot. And she told me up and down that I was wrong and that she could make everyone happy. Well, what she does in order to fool herself into thinking that she's achieving that is she has to devalue a person that she can't please anymore. So she makes that person in her head a bad guy, even if they're a perfectly good person, but she has to say no to them. And so she'll make them evil, wicked, undeserving of life in her head, and then she'll just ghost them. So in her mind, she's walking around with the fantasy that she pleases everyone, but actually she's the biggest disappointment because instead of being authentic and telling people how she feels, what she needs, and setting healthy boundaries and being assertive, she just devalues them, cuts them down. They could be her significant others in life, and then she ditches them in the street. And they have no idea, and they try to reach out to her, and she just ghosted them. Why? Well, because she realized she has to say no and disappoint them. She doesn't want to face the fact that she has to disappoint people. So she just drops people. We can't go through our life with these extremes. It's living in denial. So for her and for you, I'll give you the 9 steps to being better at disappointing people. Number one, we need to reframe the fear of disappointment. Number one is to reframe the fear of disappointment. So to do this, we need to shift the perspective. Disappointing someone doesn't make you a bad person. Disappointing someone doesn't make me a bad person. It reflects their unmet expectations, not your worth. It reflects their unmet expectations, not your worth. Making sense so far? So, oh, if I let you down, that doesn't mean I am bad or failure or worthless. It means that you had expectations and they're not going to be met, which is a part of life. So I don't need to shield you from that because that's just a part of life, right? So that has nothing to do with my worth. My worth exists over here, independent of whether or not your expectations are met. Got it. Reframe the fear of disappointment. Let's normalize it. Everyone disappoints others at some point. It's a part of healthy relationships and human interaction. Everyone disappoints others at some point. If you go in through a catalog of all your relationships, no matter how much you love the person, they've disappointed you. If you've given them enough time, if you've waited long enough, there's been some way, something that they've done that is either imperfect or just not all the way as much as you would want from them, right? If you love someone a lot, you're like, man, this person is really great. You might want more from them and they might not be able to give it. And that could be a disappointment. So everyone is disappointing and everyone has to disappoint others. It's a part of life. So when you go through life delusional, like the woman I was talking about at the beginning, you're just going to end up hurting others and hurting yourself. Now she probably cries herself to sleep at night for all the people all the hearts that she's broken and people she left in the gutter who were good people who could have helped her. Meanwhile, she still has toxic people in her life, but she thought that she could please everyone and she drives herself nuts trying to please everyone. You can't please everyone. So that's number one, reframe that fear of disappointment. Number two is strengthen your self worth. You need to recognize your value. So, where did you get your value from? Where did it come from? You were born with it, you had it. When you look back, where did I first get my actual value? Not my feelings of value, my actual value. You had it the moment you came out of your mother's womb. You were here with all your value, full 4 out of 4, 10 out of 10 value. Welcome to the world. You didn't lose that value when you got into kindergarten, when you got into first grade. You didn't lose that value when you got into third grade, when you did something wrong, when you stole, when you lied, when someone did something to you, when they bullied you, when they hurt you, when they cut you down with their words, when they tore you down and called you names. You didn't lose that value. You still just have the same value. And you still have it today because you're still alive. As long as you're alive and kicking, your value stays intact. Making sense? So, where does your value come from? Not from pleasing others. That has nothing to do with it. You could not please another human at all for the rest of your life, and you would still maintain the same value. We're learning it now, Charlotte. Welcome to the school of life. This is our opportunity to learn. This is it. Your value is intrinsic. It doesn't come from whether or not people are pleased. Okay, good. So take some time, list out your strengths. Take some time, list out your achievements. Take some time, list out your positive qualities, even the small ones. Why? Because you need to focus on all the positive, everything that's beneficial and beautiful about yourself. Why? Because that's how you cultivate love for yourself. That's how you start to see that value. You build up that self-esteem and align that feelings of value with the actual universal value that you have. Take the time, list them out, remind yourself every day. Every day, I should remind myself of my positive qualities. Every day, all the live long day, you should be in your head thinking about how amazing you are, how wonderful you are, how many gifts and blessings and talents and skills and abilities and what the beautiful possibilities are. all day long. If you're not talking to another person, you should be working on your purpose, building yourself up the whole way. I could do this. I think I could start my own podcast. People say I have a really good voice. I love my voice. I love hearing my voice. Build yourself, build yourself, build yourself all day long. Affirm your rights. Practice your affirmations. I have the right to say no. I am allowed to prioritize my well-being. Affirm yourself. Number 3, develop healthy boundaries. Develop healthy boundaries. What's a boundary? What's a boundary? A boundary is a rule or a limitation that you create. A boundary is a rule or a limitation that you create. Okay? So sometimes you just have to recognize that you're feeling a little uncomfortable and you got to say, no, I don't like that. Please don't do that. Please don't talk to me like that. Please don't go over here. Please come over here. So when you create some type of limitation, no, I'm not going to be able to stay over there past 2. No, mom, I can come over for 15 minutes. That's a boundary. Yes, without explanation. We don't need to give people explanations for our boundaries. In fact, it's going to weaken your presentation of the boundary to give an explanation, because then they focus on the explanation and then they look for a way that they can get in and argue against the validity of your boundary. And then you go, I tried boundaries, but they didn't work. No, stop. Don't explain, just assert. Your boundary is a rule limitation that you create. You have the right. In fact, you have the responsibility to create that boundary, because you are a little mini sovereign of yourself and your resources. You are a ruler of yourself and your resources. So you have to stand up in that position as the ruler of yourself and your resources. And okay, this is what I'm going to do for myself and my resources. No one can smoke in my car. If you want to have a play date with my kids, you need to call 24 hours in advance. If you want to come over to my house, you need to text me 3 hours in advance. If you want, you understand, it's your resources, personal time, personal space, all of it is yours. You have to protect it, and you protect it by asserting boundaries. Boundaries. So practice saying no at first to small requests, and then gradually to bigger things, even if it feels uncomfortable. Of course, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Everything that we've learned ever in our life felt uncomfortable at first when we first started. And then over time, we got better at it. Even if it felt somewhat comfortable at first, it got more comfortable over time. Does that make sense? It got more comfortable over time. So start now saying no to small requests and gradually build up setting and asserting your boundaries to bigger and bigger situations. Yes, even if you gotta call police, get a restraining order, that's setting the boundaries or asserting boundaries. We need to get better at recognizing boundary violations. Okay. What just happened there? What was that? I don't know. I feel uncomfortable. Discomfort in your relationship is often an indication that there was a boundary violation, even if you're not sure what it was. We don't have to have all of our boundaries predetermined, because we don't know. We don't know until someone does something that we're uncomfortable with something, because we might not have ever thought that anyone would ever do that. Right? Does that make sense? If I go over to my friend's house and then one of my friends takes my backpack and runs off, I might not have ever thought to tell someone that one of my boundaries is don't take my backpack. But now that he did it and I don't like the way it makes me feel, it makes me feel uncomfortable, then now I know I need to assert my boundary and speak up about the situation. Making sense? So that's number 3. Develop healthy boundaries, recognize the boundary violations, learn to say no, pay attention to situations where others' expectations are making you feel obligated, and ask yourself, is it fair to yourself? Is it necessary for you to capitulate to their demands? Pay attention to where their expectations are making you feel obligated. Number 4, address underlying beliefs. So we have to go to the beliefs, such as perfectionism, such as people pleasing. Remember, I can please everyone, I can make everyone happy. That's an underlying belief that we need to address. Many people with low self esteem equate disappointing others with failure. What are your beliefs on failure? Do you think failure is something you should be avoiding? Because many people feel that way. And really, failure is something you should be driving directly towards. Why? Because failure is actually the road to success. That's how we get there, is through a process of failure. So if you can fail faster at whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, you can actually get to your destination a lot faster. When we shrink back and we go, oh, I'm afraid to fail, well, then you're never going to get there because you're afraid of failure. Perfectionism, along the same lines with the fear of failure, setting an expectation that's so high that it's actually impossible. And we don't even think about it. Like, my kitchen has to be perfectly clean. What even is that? That's impossible. You're going to get every microorganism in your kitchen. It's not possible. You never took the time to think that what you're trying to achieve is not a reasonable goal. You can't get your projects done at work perfectly. You can't raise your kid perfectly. There is nothing you can do perfectly. So why are you trying to do things perfectly? Aim for a healthy level of imperfection, 85%, 90 if you're ambitious. That's good. Majority of tasks in life give about 85% to 90% effort to get them to 90% completion. Yeah, good. Good. For most things, aim lower than perfection. And that way we have an adaptive belief. Done is better than perfect. Oh, done is better than perfect. So let me just get it done. All right. If the garbage stinks and I need to take it out, the perfectionist in me says, well, if I take that garbage out, I also need to, when I get the plastic bag out of the bin, I need to properly wash the inside of the bin. And I'm going to need bleach for that because the bleach is and I need to wash the outside of the bin too. And I need to clean around the garbage can, right? And I don't want to just dump this trash in the nearby dumpster. I want to dump it down the street, right? And then I need to get a new bag, but not just any bag. I need the scented bags. And then I can place a new bag in the canister. That's the way a perfectionist thinks. And then what happens? I don't want to take out the garbage. Why? Because I can't. Why? Because I set the bar so high with my perfectionism. Oh man, I don't have the scented bags. I don't have time right now. I don't have the bleach right now. I got to get going. And now I can't just take out the garbage. Done is better than perfect. If I go, what's the 80 percentile mark here? What 85%? How do I just get it done? Well, on my way out, I just take the bag, I take it, dump it in the nearest dumpster, get in my car and go. I haven't replaced the bag. I haven't cleaned out the trash bin. I haven't done anything. But you know what? When I come back in, it doesn't stink in my house because I actually got the garbage out because I stopped trying to be a perfectionist. So find those underlying beliefs that are causing you to avoid being a disappointer of others, making you afraid to disappoint others. Question your people pleasing. Am I doing this to be liked or because it aligns with my values and my purpose? Think about that for a moment. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing this to please someone because it actually aligns with my values and my purpose in life, with what I'm here for, with what's important to me? Number 5, we need to manage our emotional responses. Manage emotional responses. That's number 5. How do we manage our emotional responses? We have to figure out, what are we dealing with? A lot of times it's guilt when it comes to people pleasing and being afraid of disappointing others. We're dealing with guilt. How do we manage our guilt? Well, understand that it's actually normal to feel guilty. In fact, guilt is an expression of our goodness. Guilt is an expression of our goodness. What does that mean? Bad people don't feel guilt. They don't feel bad. Only good people feel guilt. So, congratulations. If you feel guilt, you're a good person. That's why we feel guilt to say no to people, to let them down, to disappoint them when they were looking forward to something, when they want something. We feel bad because we're good people. That's what good people do. They feel bad to let someone down. That's okay, but we need to manage it. So, how do we manage that emotional response? Well, we acknowledge that it's normal to feel guilt, but guilt doesn't mean you've done something wrong. Guilt doesn't mean I've done something wrong. Guilt doesn't, it's just my expression of my love and my goodness for people that I care about their feelings. It doesn't mean that I've done something wrong. So sit down and make a list called a justifications list where you write down 5 reasons why you're justified in taking the action you took. 5 reasons why you're justified in taking the action that you took. Write it down on a piece of paper. Your guilt will disappear. Why? Because it's a management of our thoughts, our mindset. When we think that our job is to avoid guilt and avoid failure, we end up acting maladaptively. Your job is not to avoid guilt in life. Your guilt is your internal management system of your own inner goodness. So recognize that sometimes you're going to have to accept guilt as being the best option on the table because I'm going to have to let someone down because that's really what's best for everyone involved. I've made that decision intellectually. Don't allow the guilt to stop you from disappointing someone. Allow yourself to feel the guilt. 45 seconds and you'll be surprised how fast you can actually get over your guilt if you allow yourself to feel it instead of running away from it. 45 seconds. I'm serious. That's how long it takes to feel a feeling. You'll be surprised on second number 46 how far past the guilt you are when you just allowed yourself to endure the 45 seconds of feeling the guilt or the pain or the sadness or the discomfort, whatever it was, whatever the emotional response was. Sit with it for 45 seconds. Do your justifications list. We need to practice self-compassion. That means to treat yourself with kindness when you struggle with setting your boundaries or disappointing others. Treat yourself with kindness. I know you're learning all this stuff now and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then you try and then you feel like you failed. And the worst thing you can do is be like, dang it, darn it, I'm terrible. And then beat yourself up because you failed. No. That's another emotional response. We need to manage that by balancing with self-compassion. It's okay. Same thing you would say to a child who messes up. It's okay. It's okay. What can we learn? That's all. That's what you say to a kid, right? Hey, let's learn from this. What can we learn for next time? Good. Number 6, build tolerance for discomfort. Build tolerance for discomfort. Number 6, how do we build tolerance for discomfort? Well, we have to actually expose ourselves to something to build a tolerance to it. So when you run away from conflict, you're not building a tolerance for conflict or the skills of conflict, which are adult skills. We all need the ability to have a healthy conflict with someone. Hey, Rick, this is the third time you left the coffee pot dirty. And when I come in here, I'm not able to get coffee. I'm sorry, John. I don't know if that was really me, but if it was, I apologize. No problem, Rick. Actually, I'm just letting you know that I'm having a problem with this, hoping we can find a solution. Rick, actually, I appreciate your bravery in speaking out. Or I'm sorry, John. I forgot who's who. I appreciate your bravery in speaking out. I'll do my part and try to watch that, although it will be imperfect. No problem, bro. I'm not expecting perfection. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I'm going to go ahead and wash it out this time. No, let me do it. No, I got it. No worries at all. What was that? It was a healthy confrontation. It's part of life. We have to have the ability to express our needs and our wants and our concerns and our discomfort with others and to meet each other, right? It's a healthy confrontation. Why are we afraid of that? It's because we're thinking negative about all the worst ways that the situation can turn out. But there's no need for you to be negative. That's not going to solve anything. So we have to face the conflicts and expose ourselves to minor situations where we are disappointing others, and that builds the resilience over time. So first time you say no to your mom, you're gonna be, oh my God, this is so hard. No, mom, I can't pick up all of your groceries and go to the plant store and do everything, all of your chores, including my live my life today. I'm sorry, mom. And you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm having a heart attack. It's hard the first time. And then the second time, it's like, oh, that was kind of hard, but it got easier. And then the third time, it's easier until eventually you're just like, actually, you're like an expert at setting boundaries. Actually, mom, I appreciate your concerns. I think if what we can do is find a compromise here where I help you in the first part of the day and then John helps you in the second part of the day. And then that way we can share the responsibility. How's that sound? I mean, you become an expert in setting boundaries through the process of practice. So build the tolerance through exposure for discomfort. And overall, the reaction from others you'll find is less severe than you imagined it was going to be. You actually thought it was going to be worse than it is. And I have my clients tell me all the time, like, I told the person what I thought, and it wasn't that bad. They were just like, oh, no problem. I said no to coming to the thing, and people were cool with it. Yeah, usually you'll find that the reactions are reasonable. It's you're not in the house with your narcissist anymore. So everyone's not gonna just flip out because we disappointed them. Making sense? Let's go to number seven. Number seven, surround yourself with supportive people. Surround yourself with supportive people. Um, the specific thing about this is that it's not that we need a bunch of really amazing people around us in order to be healthy, although that would help tremendously. But what you actually need is a lack of toxic people. So make sure that the only people who are around you are supportive. And even if that means that you have to eliminate people down to having zero people around you, as long as there's no toxic people. So make sure the only people around you are the ones who are supportive, and make sure you have zero toxic people around you, even if that means you have zero friends and zero family. It's temporary, guys. What you're fearing by going down to zero, like, oh no, I don't want to go to zero. I'll have no one. You'll have a temporary period of time where there's not people there. But if you follow healthy practices in life, people replenish, you know that? They're not a scarce resource, people. They'll replenish. So you'll have healthy relationships, but you have to allow yourself to clear out the space, right? It's better to get rid of the old furniture before bringing in the new, even though that means that maybe for a day or two while you're waiting for the furniture to arrive, you might not have a piece of furniture to sit on because otherwise it gets cluttered when you bring in the new and there's the old is still sitting there. It's a mess, right? In your life, even more so, you need to clear out this old toxic roster of folks. And so that makes the space, it creates a vacuum where new people can actually come in. So let's get rid of the toxic people. Let's surround ourselves only with supportive people. And that's through a process of vetting. Number 8, we need to reflect on the bigger picture. Number 8 is to reflect on the bigger picture. Here, we need to focus on authenticity, living true to our values and needs will foster long-term self-respect and healthy relationships. When you show up as inauthentic, you will not respect yourself and you will not feel authentic connections because you're showing up as fake or with a mask. Then if they like you, you feel like they just like your mask. If they dislike you, You still feel hurt because they didn't like your mask. The connections that you have, you keep going back to being inauthentic to try to support them. It doesn't make sense. So we want to see the bigger picture with it, which is that good connections come through authenticity on our part, authentic behavior on our part. So being authentic means that we will have to disappoint someone. Being authentic means that we will disappoint others. So recognize the trade-off. Pleasing everyone often leads to burnout and resentment. Disappointing people leads to protecting your energy and your integrity. Got it? Pleasing people, burnout, resentment, disappointing people, protecting your energy and integrity. And finally, number 9 is make sure you're using the tools to support you. Make sure you're using the tools to support you. What are the tools? Well, for one, you have one-to-one sessions with me. My clients who have one-to-one sessions with me can text me 24 hours on my cell phone because they're working with me. I'm providing support for them. Okay. So can you imagine how much it's going to help you in your healing journey to be working with me one-on-one? Some of you have done 1, 2, 3 sessions and you were like feeling so good that you stopped and then you got distracted with life. No, no, no. Come back. Let's finish the job. Let's lock in. Let's finish the job. Let's get the regular weekly session going for a number of months until you're healed. Okay. Feeling good? Then you go. Okay. It's temporary. It's not forever, but recognize the need for using the tool of the one-to-one sessions. It helps you to actually be able to get your questions answered and progress faster. Another tool available for you to use, these meetings. These live meetings lock you in with the Monday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday. You get on live. You're seeing that there's other people who are going through what you're going through. Right now, we're holding attention of 77 people on TikTok, 27 people here on Zoom. Why? Because people are going through this exact same thing that you're going through right now. People are having trouble with the people pleasing and the disappointing of others. Why? Because they also came from childhood trauma and traumatic situations. They've also been abused and hurt and harmed. Right? So what does this teach us? It makes us realize we're not alone. And that's the value of being here in the live meetings. It also keeps you on a schedule of getting your shot. It's like getting another shot put in. Like, I gotta juice myself back up and build my self-esteem back up. So make sure you're locked into the schedule. That's why I come on here live. This is me live in the flesh, by the way. This is not a recording. Okay. So I'm locking in. I'm coming in and doing it. So come in with me. Put it on your schedule, lock it in. Take advantage of these tools. In addition, we have the healing course. The healing course is understated. The inside of what I call healing school on my website at healingcourse.org is a membership program that gives you access to all of the courses that I'm creating. And every time I drop a new one, it's going to be right there and you have access to it. Okay. There's already like 8 courses there. Boundaries, friends, toxic people, narcissists, whatever you want to become the expert on, there's a course on it. You can request a course to be made by me and I'll make an entire course. When I say a course, I don't mean a one-time, like one video. I mean an entire video course with a syllabus, right? Where we spend hours going in and actually fixing and learning and understanding these things. So there you have Healing School. That's a very important resource. And then we got free resources like the resources on the website, the resources on the YouTube videos, the TikTok videos too, which is mostly just for outreach, but they're still helpful. A lot of people are like, I watch your TikTok and I'm doing so much better. Fine. That's fine. But use these resources, folks. And if we're using them, the daily meditations that are on the free app, the app is called Mind, M-I-N-D, capitalized, by Roman Zanoni. For Apple, for Google phones, download that. On there, there's a bunch of other free resources. The app is free, right? So tap into these tools, use the daily meditations. And if we're every day with the meditation and the edification and the exercise, we're changing the brain. We're becoming the best version of ourselves. And that's what I want for you. So no more worried about disappointing others. We're going to lock in now and focus on doing what needs to be done to be authentic, to be aligned with our purpose.